Okay, so Sarah, it's 1 year. Well, let me pull up the initial documents and then I can pull up the questions you have. So let me share my screen with you here. So let's just go over your initial chief complaints. So a year ago, cognitive function, brain fog. I know it's ups and downs with this. You find a connection with your blood sugar levels, right?
Yeah.
Being a big part of that. Um,
Yes.
when you were on a lot of thyroid hormones, did that impact you as well, or
Significantly. Yeah. The T3 was right for what it was when I first started taking it, but that's because I didn't realize about leaky gut and everything else. So it was like a band-aid that worked for a time and then it got worse.
Okay.
Mhm.
And right now you're having some ups and downs, right? So if I take a look at your most recent one, whoops, here, you still have some cognitive issues off and on, or how is that going?
Yeah, so I'm thinking that it's still within my gut because of that situation I had with that job situation last year, and I was overstressed and overworked for I guess I would say a good 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that high level of stress over that period of time without any relaxation, I guess, so to speak, really did a number on my gut. I recently met with my endocrinologist who he totally gets the leaky gut thing. He's really great, but he did mention that I might not have enough stomach acid. He's going to be retesting me for my folate and just some other things that we haven't really looked at in a number of years. So I'm not sure if there's any correlation with that. Just kind of like the gut brain
Well, you had
connection.
microscopic colitis on one of your biopsies in the past, and you had tropomyosin antibodies. So definitely know there's some autoimmunity going there, you know. Um, I mean, it's not that hard to just take some digestive enzymes if I think if they can help you. But if they're going to do a gastric Haldenberg test, that's great, which is the way they check for HCl. In any case, um, it's always good to get that assessed and checked further. Now, when we last time we talked, you had the stressful event, the work episode, and your gut totally flared up, and then it seemed like the fish oils you took were taking were helpful, right? What is
Yeah, yeah. I've been taking them religiously, as well as with I can never say this word, but it's basically the turmeric, but it's like the proper
curcumin?
cur- no.
Curcuminoids? Turmeric?
Yes, yes, sorry. I can never say this word. Yeah, curcumin. Anyway,
Curcumin power.
yeah, that's what
Okay.
that's
So last time we talked, we are like, you got a stressful event probably flared up your autoimmunity. That's why you have a lot of gut issues. You had some brain antibodies. Some of the neuroinflammation symptoms can be triggered when you get your immune system revved up, and
yeah.
you were able to change your workload and everything, right?
Yes, absolutely. So that has helped bring down the inflammation tremendously.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just trying to balance the gut with some L-glutamine every day, just hoping that that helps. I'm still not quite where I was before, but I've been able to gain weight much easier. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of back on track where I was shortly after seeing you when I started to feel better.
Yeah.
I want to say that was like May of last year, where I was actually starting to notice a difference with having the beef in the morning and like the high fats and more oils and so on.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of back there right now. So I'm happy for that, but I'm just frustrated that it's been a year and that episode knocked me off because I know that I can have flare ups, but I've never had an ongoing flare up and
Yeah.
significant setback that I had last year. So that was just disappointing.
Before we met for the first appointment, you're working with one of your doctors locally, and they had worked with you working on your leaky gut and all those things that helped, right? And that's
Yes.
okay. Yeah, like you might have to go back and do that. Just every time you get intestinal inflammatory response that severe, it might take you months to heal. So that's great that you're gonna go back on glutamine and so forth.
Mhm.
The fish oils and turmeric were just there to get you out of your initial crisis. And then the big thing was to stabilize your blood sugar. You put here, added more nut butter and high fat snacks, helpful, but other high protein snacks without sugar are hard to come by. Do you not like chicken or
I love chicken. I eat it all the time.
but for snacks?
So because I eat that all day, every day for my meals, it's hard to like then go back and have it for a snack.
Yeah.
So I need something different. I can't be having like chicken every 2 hours, you know? It's
Well,
like a little much.
yeah, I understand, but it's better than not having anything.
No, for sure. So I have some I have those RX bars. You know that those bars,
No.
RX.
What's in them?
Could you grab it
Yeah.
for me, please? Thank you. So these RX bars are I think it's 12 grams of protein. They just have a couple eggs in them, egg whites usually. He's grabbing them now. And I really like them, but they just have dates in them, and the dates are very high in sugar. So I can manage, like, here's an example: 3 egg whites, 6 almonds, 4 cashews, 2 dates.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Those bars.
You
Yeah.
know these. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing is that the dates with the high sugar, because of those, it's just, it stinks. Like, I'm just trying to find something that doesn't have much sugar in it, but high fat, high protein. It's hard to find those. So I got those, and I can eat like half at a time. And then based on how I feel in the next 30 minutes or so, I might finish it.
So
I just
typically,
have to
people have blood
sugar.
sugar issues like you have, like the severity of them, the sensitivity you do. They can't really even do bars like that, even though it has egg whites and no BS and all this fat. They technically it's still too much. It's still not like you're better off with like a vegetable. If you
Okay. And then just adding the oils.
yeah, or just even just the fiber itself. You're okay. I mean, it'd be better if you had some fat, some protein with it, but I don't know. You can get down in a vicious cycle because the problem you have to understand is when you start eating some dates, you're gonna start craving sugar more. You're gonna start getting your sugar
Okay.
cravings pick up when you start eating things that are sweet.
Okay.
I don't know if you. It sounds like that's what's happening when I was reading through your update. Uh,
Okay.
Having more sweet flavor, you're craving sweet, even suspecting if you're diabetic. How long have you been eating those bars?
Oh gosh, no, no. I actually stopped having sugar altogether when I was feeling that way.
Okay, but your bar now has sugar in it.
Now I am. I said, okay, so I just kind of waited it out a little bit. And then when I got the test and I realized that because I don't know if you saw my recent test, so I don't have
Yeah,
high
yeah,
blood sugar. So I was like, okay, or low blood sugar, like too low of blood sugar. I guess it didn't look dangerous. So I was like, okay, well, let me just try a little bit because maybe I'm just so low. And so I just started eating a little bit here and there. And so I don't even have the RX bars every day. I'm not having them very often. So when I do, I just eat a half of one and I just kind of wait and see how I'm feeling. Because I don't want to like deprive myself and then just be so energetically low all the time. And I feel like I need to eat something else.
yeah.
But having beef and chicken and lamb for my meals, it's just really hard to then go back to it
Yeah.
for snacks, like
And sometimes,
overkill.
like, if you want to have something sweet, it's okay as long as you just eat your dinner before or after, and like
Yeah.
have that blood sugar crash.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. That's why I try to do like a nut butter and then I'll have something with sugar in it
But I
so that
mean,
I the
but you
dips.
realize the days you're more consistent with your snacks, you're feeling more energy and better, right? Yeah. As
Yeah,
long as
absolutely.
you make that
Absolutely.
connection, and like if you deviate, you have to go back and see what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm so sensitive, I'll notice it immediately.
And you think you're okay with those bars, those RX bars?
Yeah, I think I'm fine with them. I think it was also just a peace of mind when I got the blood work done that, I'm not going to be diabetic right now.
It was never.
So that was just a peace of mind. But yeah, no, I think I'm fine. I think it's just we're going to be traveling again back to the States. And so I'm going to just look again and just see what else I can find that's going to be helpful for me.
Okay, no fun.
Yeah, to balance the snacks.
Okay, so you're not taking your blood pressure off. That's okay. But it seems like it's better, right?
It is. It's definitely better for sure. And I do notice a difference between morning and afternoon. Like afternoon, it's usually much, much better.
Okay.
I think it's because I've had the salt, but I'm oversalting everything. So that's been very consistent.
So 89 to 55 to 99 to 65. Okay. How often is it closer to 99 over 65?
Ooh, I want to say more often than not. Like I kind of realize when I'm going through stress, funny enough, it can drop, but that also might be depending on how my body's processing the food.
Yeah.
But usually like when I'm on the go and I'm eating well and everything's kind of flowing and I don't feel as low in energy, it tends to be higher. That's what I've noticed.
Okay.
So when I'm on a roll, then my blood sugar is in a much, or I mean, my blood pressure is much higher.
Yeah. As you get more as you get your weight up, your blood pressure will be easier to improve too. So you're
Mhm.
2/3 of my weight goal. Okay. So you're fluctuating 107 to 110. Okay. I want to get to 115 or 18. Perfect. Yeah. This is not going to be easy. Gaining weight is hard for people with small frames like you. And
Yeah.
just like for some people, losing weight is so hard no matter everything they do. Like, as long as you're in this right direction, it's not like something.
Okay.
But having an intestinal flare up and severe stress and all that kind of slows your progress. But as long as you're shooting for this, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's where I felt my best. And I like to have a buffer because, if like a stressful event happens within a couple of days, I'm starting to drop weight like nothing. And so that's where I get nervous and I say, I don't want to let anything offset me. But when
Yeah.
when I'm in that range, I feel like I'm going to have a bit of a fallback so I can catch myself much, much easier.
Yeah. So when we look at your okay.
Dr. K, sorry, I wanted to just jump in and ask a question about snacks. So I was going to ask if things like jerky and like pork rinds
Yeah.
would be helpful. But one of the challenges, and Sarah recently noticed this, is that when she eats pork, she doesn't feel
Massive
great.
headache. I think I mentioned this not on our last call, but the one before, and he told me to pay attention to that. And I ended up just not having any pork because I couldn't differentiate between what brand, what origin, and
Does
all
it matter how
this.
it's cooked or prepared?
No, I've had it with bacon, I've had it with pork chunks, I've had it with pretty much everything, and I didn't want to do too much trial and error.
Yeah.
I just was like, I don't want to have, because it's like the headaches were like massive, like it took over my whole head, my face, and it was like for a solid between 24 and 48-hour period. So I just stopped eating pork altogether.
So
So,
just some things to add before you want to add something? I'm sorry.
so I was just going to say, so would then jerky, like maybe turkey jerky that doesn't have any like her paprika or any of those things that make her feel off, would that be good? I mean, because you said snacking on meat would
Yeah.
be one option,
Sure.
but
If you can, yeah, sure. If Sarah can tolerate it, that'd be great. The key thing with pork and some of these meats like that is sometimes how it's prepared can make an impact too. So, for example, if it's fried in oils, a lot of the the trans fat, not the trans fats, but the saturated fats can sometimes cause you to have headaches, you know. And it's not so much like if you didn't have it like in a bacon fried format, you might be okay with it.
Okay.
The gold standard is always elimination provocation. If it's reproducible every time you eat it, then you for sure should avoid it. But sometimes it is the way it's prepared, and even sometimes just when if the pork is cooked to the point that there's like a kind of a browning on the outside, those are glycated proteins are a little bit different, so that you may react differently to that. So if it was grilled versus fried, it may be different for you. But the protein structures do change in different ways of cooking. So just be conscious of it. If you have other choices and you want to risk it, then don't risk it. But
Yeah, I just paused now.
so a year ago, what was your weight? It was like
100.
okay. So you're up about 8 pounds, 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. It's like
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy. And just fitting back into my clothes that I was wearing years ago. I'm just happy. I feel good. I can't explain it. Like even just sitting down, just moving, just things that you don't think about. I notice it so much, and I'm just so grateful to just have my weight back because, I always joke with people, I'm like the wind could blow and I'll go with it. But really, but I do. It feels so good, and it's like I'm on this trajectory where I don't want to fall back again. I want to do everything in my power to just keep feeling good. If something doesn't feel right, I'm like, I'm not doing it.
What about muscle training? Doing any muscle like weight training or?
So what's hard is that anytime, and this has like really been my whole life, anytime I've worked out, I feel horrendous the next couple of days. Like usually by day 2, I'm almost in tears because I feel horrible. And that's even just doing light yoga. So I've told myself, and I just need to really be consistent with this, is if I do light yoga every day,
Yeah,
then that's better than just trying to do 3 times a week stretches, too deep of stretches. Because in the moment it feels great, and then afterward I'm almost in tears and I just feel absolutely miserable, pounding headache, and I feel just not well overall.
I think,
yeah.
I think Dr. K, when she had mentioned that last time, you said, yeah, I think that it has to do with inflammation in the cerebellum or something around that sort. And I'm probably mixing this up. I think you had given an explanation as to why she started to feel worse than normal people, because most people feel sore for like 2 days, two or 3 days.
Yeah,
But
and
then
then the point was is that if there's a lot of movement up and down and positions up and down and movements up and down based on some of the stuff found in the initial exam, like it just could be more of the vestibular movements that are causing problems. Whereas if you just maybe stood staring at the wall and just did some bicep curls without
Sure.
the ups and downs, you're not moving around without an environment that's stimulating, you might be okay.
I would
But
start that again because I was doing that for a time with a personal trainer. And yeah, and then that was a time when I was having horrible leaky gut, so my body just wasn't functioning as properly. But I would start that again. I would.
we have to remember a couple of things. Like your body fat has adipocytes, and they make something called adipokines. And adipokines help modulate your immune system, your metabolism, your endocrine function, your mood. So when you get too low in body fat, your health won't be as efficient. Okay, people get underweight, they get sick all the time. They're prone to viruses, infections that go around. They have a hard time recovering from an illness. They're more prone to depression. Like lots of things happen being underweight. Okay, and that's just not having enough body fat. Now there's a lot of research showing, how important muscle mass is too. So muscles release their own signaling agent called myokines, and myokines help regulate your whole endocrine physiological systems. And they're actually finding one of the increased risk for all-cause mortality as you age is how much muscle mass you have. So like when elderly start to lose muscle mass, their all causes of death go up compared to people that have normal muscle mass. So
Mm,
like we're not doing it for appearance or look, or we want you to feel better, but like when you think about your body attaining homeostasis and fixing itself, like it needs to have some body fat to make these adipokine proteins. It needs to have some myokines to have muscle activity,
right.
So, if you can try to do some weight training that doesn't really
Sure.
stimulate your movements up and down, like you're just stationary, like
Yeah.
that might be one way to start. But you
Okay.
can hit 115 of 118 much, much, much faster if you can do some weight training. You can
Okay.
do
I will.
2 or 3, 4 pounds of muscle in no time.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I'll do that. I'll start again.
and then those two things together could really start to improve your blood pressure too, like in a positive direction. Uh,
Okay. Yeah. No, thank you for that. I think it's just, it's sometimes we get locked into our minds of like what didn't work and like you so badly don't ever want to feel bad again.
yeah,
And then when there comes a time when you can restart it again, sometimes it's helpful to have that reminder. So I appreciate it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a part of it is like you try to diagnose something if you're and try to do an intervention for it. Other times it's like your physiology is missing these essential things. So underweight can really impact your physiology. Not having enough perfusion because your blood pressure is too low could have could be great for stroke risk because your stroke risk goes down, but not great for everything else. And then you need to have muscle mass. Like your muscles not only contract and release myokines, but they also pump your lymphatic system and improve your immune function that way, and
Right.
messenger system. So like they have to be working. And sedentary lifestyle, even though you're underweight, is not good. For
Yeah.
brain function, for everything. So
Right.
we're just trying to get you shifted into a normal, ideal physiology. Because most of the stuff you have is just I mean, like, can be just related to these things. It's not really a disease state. Like your cognitive function, low stamina, energy. Now you have this underlying layer of autoimmunity that tends to flare up at times. That really is a problem.
Mhm.
Um, are your menstrual cycles changing?
Oh, much better. They were much, much, much better when I was taking Dr. Brighton's pills. I had some of her supplements and no complaints. I've never had such an easy cycle in my life.
What were they? What were they?
Sorry?
What were you taking?
I have them right here actually. It was called her PCOS kit, and I started to take these when I had gotten off of the birth control pill. I had been on Yaz for a long time. One is called Balance, then there was Saw Palmetto Plus. I can tell you what's in them as well. And the other one was Adrenal Support.
Okay.
So I
With,
think these are part of Designs for Health. I think they're rebranded from there, if I'm not mistaken.
when did you start taking those?
Hmm?
When did you start those?
I'd have to look back at my original documents, but they were definitely in the when what I had sent to you before. Initially, I think in my intake.
Okay.
So I must have taken these.
How many do
I
you
want
agree?
2021.
21. Okay. Yeah.
And then I did have And so that helped regulate me. And then I did have a lot of the PMS symptoms, which subsided. And I think it was a continuation of those, if I'm not mistaken. I think I just kept taking those for a good 6 months, and then I was fine.
But in that 6 months, you're also stabilizing your blood sugar and gaining weight and other things too, right?
Not the weight.
Not the weight.
Not the weight, no. Blood sugar was a lot more stable though, but the weight was not.
Yeah. So your blood sugar being more stable, it's probably more of the indicator. What's in the supplements? Can you read them to me? The ingredients?
Yeah, sure. So the balance.
This is the difficulty sometimes too when you have more than one person working on a case, and sometimes things can get mistaken or thrown off. What's in there?
Yeah, no, I haven't taken these in a long time, but I was just showing them to somebody, which I had them here. So there's B6, folate, B12, as methyl, calcium, magnesium, calcium D glucarate, chrysin, chaste tree extract, green tea extract. Oh, this is a hard one. Dim. You know that one. Okay. Black cohosh extract, broccoli seed extract, trans resveratrol.
Okay.
That's in balance. Saw palmetto plus is vitamin D, B6, zinc, saw palmetto, nettle, L-lysine, L-alanine, L-glutamic acid, chrysin, dim.
Yep.
Lycopene. Did I say those right?
Yep.
And then the adrenal support has vitamin C, riboflavin. Sorry, I'm probably not saying that one right. B6, pantothenic acid, and then eleuthero, American ginseng, ashwagandha, rhodiola, and acetyl L-tyrosine, licorice. That's it.
Okay, yeah, none of those are going to drop your blood sugar, so that's great. Okay, just want to make sure we're not having crossing there. Okay, great. Boom, boom, boom.
The pill that you're taking with the soy.
Oh yes, I will. It's in there. So this is coming last year, and I gave him the new paperwork. Yeah. He was just asking me about because I'm going to get back on Accutane.
You are? Why?
Yeah. So when I was on it, I didn't know that there was a cumulative dosage that needed to be met. And I was microdosing, as my doctor had just recommended, as she does with all of her patients. And I did microdosing for 6 months. Well, microdosing for 6 months was only 20 milligrams, which only gave me 50% of the total. So my acne is coming back.
Okay.
Which is frustrating. My skin is changing and it's just going back to the way it was. It did actually, my acne started coming back last year. I just was like, it's going to be fine. I'm not going to worry about it. And then it just kept coming back more and more and more. And because I have cystic acne, which is also on my back, that's also something that nothing topical has ever treated, even around my face. So I made the decision to just do it and just make sure I got that cumulative amount, which would be like a 40 milligram dosage a day. And if for some reason it's too much, I'll drop it down to 20 and then just take it as long as I can until I can reach that number.
Okay, be careful with Accutane. I mean, it's been shown to turn on severe intestinal inflammation for some people. It modulates what I call retinoic acid receptors. It's a different model. The functional medicine models were like, just keep treating your gut, treat yourself healthy, modulate your immune system to change things like cystic acne. But I know it's whatever you think is best for you.
Yeah, it's not that I really want to do it. I didn't have any issues when I was on it the last time, thank God. And it is soy based, which I'm not looking forward to, but I don't have outward flare-ups like I would if it had paprika or any nightshades, thankfully. It's just, no matter what I've done, I've had cystic acne my entire life. And I'm 37 and I'm like, I can't keep dealing with this. I've tried so many topical treatments and it's not working. And even with the gut health, it's never gone away.
Right.
Never gone. So it's just the last resort.
I understand. Okay, so here's what I want to say. You put highly sensitive with sugars. They can manage swell blood sugars productively, but feel very jittery.
Feel very jiggly. Sorry, that was not a complete sentence. feel very jittery if I have too much.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was supposed to say.
Okay. I mean, since I've known you the past year, your snacks and figuring out the right snacks has always been the battle. So, you don't think the bars have anything to do with these symptoms being more sensitive?
No, because I've noticed it before, but it's since the flare up that I've been more sensitive because my blood sugar was totally regulated earlier, even post seeing you and before. Like it was sorry, there were times that I had issues with it, but I was stable for some time.
Okay.
And then this recent flare up is like what made it difficult for me to balance that back.
All right.
So
what are your current concerns? The concerns below have occurred based on most recent gut health disruption, inflammatory response to August 22. Okay, posture. I still tend to slouch, lean on things I stand. Okay. Clench. We got to get your muscle tone and your cerebellum, to help you with that. I still tend to clench muscles in my arms, legs, and feet, even without all awareness of it doing it related to cerebellum. Now waking up really feel refreshed, lighter sleep. Okay. Best time is 5 to 5:30. Not waking up, dragging myself out of bed, mid fatigue, even with snacks. These are all still blood sugar symptoms.
okay.
I mean, are you sure you're stabilizing your blood sugar?
I'm trying my best.
Okay. I mean, the ways you would know. Here's the ways you would know. So the red flags are you're getting shaky, lightheaded, irritable, and then you eat, or you're going too far with eating, so you have those symptoms. When you eat, you feel more energy. Do you have any of those symptoms?
Not that dramatically, no.
Not that dramatically means yes. It means you still have.
But no, okay. So if I'm not feeling dramatically more energized or not energized and I'm feeling kind of consistent, like I can be hungry and then I eat and I don't feel massive drops and then like I don't have these drops and then high energy.
But Sarah, when you eat, you feel like you're functioning better. Like that made a big difference for you.
Not significantly. Like if I'm hungry, I eat and then I'm like, okay, I can pick back up, but it's not like it was in the past. Like I remember the feeling of where it was a big deal and I finally ate and I could function for another hour or two. I don't have that dramatic of a result.
Right. So you might be like 90% there, but not 100%. So
that's what I feel like. I feel like I'm making progress on it because I know what it's like to have had a worse imbalance.
Right.
And I felt better that I'm able to at least have some of those bars. Cause to me, that's like a little test. I'm like, can I manage this without feeling off? So that's where I feel like it's just slower on healing in my gut. That was my
clinic. Just so you know, cases turn around with the last 10%, not with the first 90.
Okay.
So
I can live with that.
yeah, so really, really think about it. If you are feeling like we don't want to see, we want you to eat frequently enough with high protein, high fiber, low glycemic foods, so you don't ever feel like it's getting your function back, because that would be a sign your blood sugar is low. That is just something you're doing routinely. You're not crashing from it, obviously.
Right.
And so you never feel shaky, lightheaded, irritable, anxiety. And also waking up in the middle of the night. Waking up in the middle of the night is the most common thing, is just becoming hypoglycemic at, being nocturnal hypoglycemic at nighttime. So like waking up at 5 to 5:30, midday fatigue, eating with snacks, then maybe it's either the frequency or the type of snacks you're having, or those are things to really investigate. I really suspect you have a little bit, like you may be a lot better, but that little bit is kind of keeping you where you're at. But,
yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I can work on that for sure.
Okay. Discussion over phase 2 and 3 corresponding family planning. Ideally, I want to be complete with my healthcare. Okay. Can we kind of outline? Okay. Yeah. So the treatment plan we initially put together was this one. Okay. Phase 1, evaluate follicle integrity AMH test, bulk reserves. You did that. They were all fine. So that's nice and healthy. Evaluate for other tests your co-autoimmunities. So we did array number 5, and you had tropomyosin antibodies. I think I have it up here. Earlier. Let me get it. So your tropomyosin antibodies. So that would be related to your intestinal inflammatory response with your microscopic colitis biopsy findings. Myelin basic protein, azogangloside, and your thyroid. So we know those are the 3 target proteins. That was one of the things you wanted to figure out. these mildly basic proteins, nasoganglycosides, could be related to cerebellar dysfunctions, any kind of neurological symptoms. So we did evaluate those autoimmunities, and we now know from this initial evaluation that you have autoimmunity in your gut, your thyroid, and neurological tissue. Okay. You didn't have intrinsic factor because you had some like B12 levels that were off, but that wasn't related to autoimmunity. Okay. Continue working with endocrinologist to reduce T3 levels, which you did. And you got your T3 levels back to where tolerable, right? And then stabilize blood sugar levels. This still we got 10% left.
I can do this. I can do this.
Increased body weight 99 pounds, underweight to normal 115. So you're getting close. So that's great. You're eating lots of different fatty acids and oils and all that still.
Yes, very much so.
So
yes, as oil over everything.
So you want to transition into having a child, right? Is that the next?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, then keep these oils going.
Okay. Can I'm going to order some MCT oil. Would that be of help for?
That would be a good idea. Yeah. Because MCT is really high saturated fat. You're better off with these other ones. That's something you want to do if you're ketosis and things like that. If you have normal coconut healthy fats, that's fine. But
okay.
Yeah, just stick with the flaxseed or your honorable cold pressed. Okay. We could, if you really wanted to, we could do an essential fatty acid blood test to really see where your levels are. But at this point, diversity is critical, and especially going into healthy pregnancy, you really want to have lots of different oils, because they have good fats. These good fats have different prostaglandins. They will help you with all types of immune and endocrine modulation, but they're also really critical for fetus's brain development. They have okay. Evaluate chemical load and chemical immune reactivity, which we have not done, and checks you had in serum mercury levels in your blood. You had high mercury, and you also had a hair mercury test, which were both high. And so there's a chemical thing we want, and then evaluate underlying triggers for autoimmunity. Underlying trigger for autoimmunity, without question, the most significant one is your stress lifestyle. Like you had a significant response when you were in that. Some people don't. Some people have lots of stress and the autoimmune doesn't flare up, but for them, it's if they get a common cold, they're down for 6 months or something like that. Everyone's got a different blueprint. But underlying triggers for autoimmunity is basically foods, chemicals, lifestyle, and pathogens. Okay. I don't think you really have any pathogens, but certainly we can go deeper. So the question is like how deep you want to go, because we can look at all these different autoimmune triggers. It's just a matter of how many labs you want to do. It's a matter of cost. It's about timing. That's where you can go deeper into the autoimmune part of it. Initial part was just like we had to get your body weight under normal, we had to get your blood sugar stable, and you're like way overdosing on T3, and like you have no chance until those things get trusted. That's kind of like phase one. And then I think a lot of these things have been improved upon. And then body weight we wanted as a monitor, blood pressure, symptoms of hypoglycemia, PMS symptoms, brain and physical endurance. So these we're all doing better. You had a flare up and went down, but at least you understand like how to get there. Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as your like concern with going with the autoimmunity, like what phases to go into, it's just going to be planning on how much test do you want to do. Do you want to go into the chemical stuff first? Do you want to do chemical pathogens first? Do you want to go deeper into foods? What's your thought on that?
That's a really good question. So I feel like I have a really good handle on food and I know what I can manage and what I can't. I'm not someone who deviates from that because I want to feel good and not bad. Yeah. I don't know if, I don't know, I would say the chemicals, but what would you recommend?
When do you guys plan on having a child? Ideal scenario.
In the next.
Maybe sometime next year.
Yeah.
2024, that is. Okay,
so chemicals. But so when you're back in the States, we can organize some testing for you. You should probably do like we should definitely check your blood levels of mercury because that means you're getting acute exposure. If it's in the blood, it means it's acute. Okay.
Would that be just recent fish that I had eaten prior to the test?
You'd have to have a lot of it in your fish to raise levels that high off the lab because there's a range in the lab test.
Yeah.
But also we want to look at your pesticide levels. like chemicals, pesticides. Those are things that can really not be the best for a healthy developing brain. So we can do urine tests to check those for you, and also to measure things like glyphosates, which are really commonly found in high levels in people, and different types of endocrine disruptors can all be tested with the same urine test. So it's like a urine profile, and then we can also do a blood profile to see if you have any chemical reactions, immune reactions to chemicals. Those are different than the actual total load. So I can have Susan connect with you and organize those with your trip. But we can go down the chemical route first. It's probably a good idea to go to. I think you have foods under control. Doesn't look like you have any screaming pathogen issues. Even your gut issues seem fine, unless you was really triggered by stress. It wasn't like just some spontaneous thing.
Yeah, no, that was heavy stress that most people couldn't normally handle. So me of all people had no business even staying in that situation. So I realized that. I think it's just learning to say no and learning to walk away from things.
Yeah.
And I'll just put it this way too. I was starting to feel really good that I was going from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And I feel good. I want to go further. And my thing is I have to pace myself, because even if I feel good, I don't want to overdo it. And that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah. So you should also be aware of, there is a possibility you may have, like anytime you have a chronic gastrointestinal issues, there's the possibility of having a pathogen in the gut. And some pathogens are latent pathogens that reactivate. So, like some people get like herpes, and then like they get stressed, and then they get little cold sores everywhere. That's like a virus that's latent, and then it gets reactivated. There's some protozoas that are just sitting in the gut, and they don't have any symptoms or any reactions until a person's immune system gets compromised. Stress is always the trigger for latent infections, as a major trigger. So it's possible, if you want to dig deeper into the autoimmunity part of this, you can do a GI panel. It would be a stool collection. And then you can look for those types of things. Always good to see what your assessment is there. You can also see if you do have leaky gut. Now you're working with a gastroenterologist right now?
No, I'm working with an endocrinologist, and I have a functional medicine doctor here.
Okay. So yeah, are they doing testing with you?
They have.
They have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where all the other lab work that I ever sent was from, either my functional medicine doctor or my endocrinologist.
Yeah, and I think your functional medicine doctor work with was doing a good job, but it was just like overlooking like blood sugar issues, and like you got to get your weight back up, and get some muscle tone, all that stuff. Typically I don't like working with people that have more than one person doing the functional medicine side of it, and because it gets too hard to kind of figure out what's going on.
Well, I haven't done anything recently. The last things I did were before I saw you.
Right. Okay.
So I haven't done anything else. And I just saw my endocrinologist just as like a regular touching base.
All right. So we can do the GI panel and kind of go from there. But the problem is going to be like, if you work with too many people, you're going to have way too many tests, way too many directions. And then what happens is you kind of do what you think you should do or like to do. And then you don't really get to what you need to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've always just followed your guidance ever since I started working with you. I haven't done anything.
Okay. So we can order the GI panel with you while you're here, and then kind of figure out if you want to go down that route. You might have like ongoing intestinal permeability. You may have like a protozoa that got reactivated when your stress response that now is still flared up. You could have severe inflammatory markers that are there. So that's something to investigate. So I can have Susan connect pile to that, to add to the list. So the main things is like chemical immune reactivity. We do a Cyrex panel to check for antibodies against chemicals. We'll do a urinary endocrine disrupting pesticide panel to see what kind of chemicals are in your system that way. And then we definitely probably want to do a blood test to see if you have any high levels of actual heavy metals in your blood, which means there's still acute exposure to your system. And that's really the most severe one for it. That'd be like a good way to screen for it. If you did like a challenge test where you take a chelator and do a test, you're going to be positive with everything. And everyone is. That's not as big. So you just want to see what's in your circulating levels without any kind of challenge as a baseline for you. Okay.
Okay.
And then I was reading through all your emails, all that stuff. I think we covered most of the stuff you talked about here. Any questions on these? I mean, your snacks, somewhere along your snacks, you're still missing something. Maybe it just needs to be more frequent.
I
Your
think it just needs to be more frequent.
Yeah, your questionnaire forms were all good. Like you don't have really any symptoms, right?
Yeah.
Very little, I should say.
Yeah, no,
But you
minor. I
had
wasn't concerned too much.
some of the yeah.
Just that right now I am completely dependent on the Imodium AD.
You are.
Yeah.
What happens
All
if you
right. Diarrhea.
still? Yeah, so maybe we should do the GI panel. Maybe you reactivate a protozoa. You have constant diarrhea. That doesn't make sense, you know.
Because the thing is, I remember when they told me about the microscopic colitis,
Yeah.
the gastroenterologist that I had at the time said, this can go away for years and years and years. It may never come back. Or if it does, this is how to do it. And he said, just take a half Imodium every morning and then take 2 Pepto-Bismol in the afternoon and just do that and then wean off. And I did it and it worked for like 5 years. I had no issues.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going back in that protocol right now. I'm just taking a full bar of Imodium every other day. Just because I have so many pills. But that's just what I'm doing.
So autoimmunity can definitely flare up your diarrhea too, unrelated to a pathogen. Like when we get ulcerative colitis, which is another form of autoimmunity to the gut, just like microcytic colitis, right? They both also have tropomyosin antibodies, which is what you have on your Cyrus test. It really indicates like the person's autoimmune modulation hasn't been achieved.
Okay.
Once people calm down their autoimmunity, that usually stops, and when their autoimmunity gets worse, it flares up. So, are you sure you're good with your stress level and everything? Because if it's not,
Probably not. I mean, I still feel I'm under stress. My
you
body
have
just
some stress. It's just a matter of like you got to be able to sleep. You got to be able
yeah.
to.
I mean, I sleep through the night. I absolutely sleep through the night. I do monitor my sleep levels through an app. I mean, it's not 100% accurate, but I there are nights where I'm in a much lighter sleep for too long.
Okay.
But then the nights that I'm in a full, that I'm in a deeper sleep, I wake up, I feel great. So I do try to monitor that just to get an idea. I try not to be on my phone too late at night. We have a reminder on our phones to like get off the screen. So I try to really make sure that when we go to sleep, it's, not having the light from our phone and so on.
Okay. So let's get the labs done on you, because the second part of this is really to focus on the autoimmunity part of it, and also for a healthy pregnancy. We can look at all the chemical issues. We can look at the GI panel, make sure you have any underlying pathogens there. And if there's no pathogen there and you still have ongoing like colitis issue, you may have this whole autoimmune trigger still. And
Okay.
what's screaming throughout all of your stuff, like everywhere, is blood sugar still. So you might be just comparing it to how it was before, but it still may need to be improved upon. I know it's not easy for you, but you're doing a great job. You just need that a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, just need to do a little better. But no, that's fine. I appreciate that, because that clarifies a lot. And then that helps me just kind of see a clear path forward and just focus on that big time. The fats and more frequent snacks.
Dr. K, sorry if I'm being a bit daft here, but the blood sugar issue, is it really that she just, what she said, just kind of intaking more proteins, intaking more fats, and just kind of, because typically people have these, morning spikes, so they have a bunch of carbs in the morning, a bunch of carbs at lunch, a bunch of carbs in the evening, and they kind of manage with that through the day. For Sarah, her modulating is just increasing the number of snacks. What are you recommending there?
So let's really fine tune it really quick. So if Sarah notices when she eats, she feels greater function, that's an indication that the timing is too far between snacks and meals. Okay, so that's number one. If you eat something and then crash and get tired, that's probably too much sugar for your body to handle.
Okay.
Eat something and go, oh my God, I'm tired, I need to take a nap or whatever, like a little brain foggy, you need to pass that. So that would be like, that was too much sugar for you. Okay. And then having like stable energy, also like not getting shaky, lightheaded, irritable, would really depend upon the type of snacks you're having. So those are all things that you have to kind of balance out. And then also you should be able to sleep through the night without waking up. And sleeping through the night without waking up means you may not be getting enough protein or fat, or eat late closer to your bedtime than you need to, so you don't have a blood sugar level drop at nighttime. Like that last 10% could be like the game changer. Really.
I think so. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm
Okay.
so close.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll connect with Susan. I'll let her know the test. She can connect with you guys and see how she can help you organize it while you're back in the States. And we can then go deeper into the chemical stuff. Go over there.
Great. Thank you so
Great.
much. We'll be in the States for the month of April. So
Okay, so we have plenty of time. Okay.
yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much. I really
That's
appreciate your
great. Nice seeing
time
you.
and
Thank you so
everything.
much.
Thank
Very,
you.
very helpful.